In this video, we'll create the 3-port Jandy valve that you can see here. This part will be one of the more complicated parts, but if you look at it closely, you realize here's the list of all the individual pieces that it's comprised of, which you already know how to create many of these. So there's a body, which is basically going to be a cylinder. And there's some elbows, all these 3 elbows for inlet and outlet. There's a 2-inch pipe that runs across inside here. There's another little pipe on the other side you can't see. There's this base, again, which is really a solid cylinder, a tiny solid cylinder, very thin disc-like. And then there's this lever on the top that I haven't renamed here called Body 10. So we've got to build each one of these individual pieces and then put it all together into this Jandy valve. I've created a new document with all the parts that we need. You already know how to create this 6-inch long 2-inch pipe. You already know how to create these elbows. You know how to create this piece here, a small little piece of pipe. And you may not know how to create this cylinder, but this is the main body of the Jandy valve. We'll create it, and there's a little base for the lever that goes on top of it. I'm calling the handle. It's not really a handle, it's what adjusts which output port is active and working. So I'm going to hide all the pieces that you already know how to make. I made this body just like you would any pipe, but I didn't give it thickness, so it looks like each of the ends is solid. Another way to create this would be to create a cylinder. So I'm just going to create a cylinder over here a minute, show you how we could do this as a cylinder, and then we'll delete that cylinder since I already have this part. So I'm in the part workbench. Here's the cylinder icon. Let's create this cylinder. And it's probably in here somewhere, we just can't see it. So I might have to hide some of these other parts so we can see it. Okay, there it is. It's really small. Maybe the first thing we can do is set this to the right size. The radius we want to be, I think, 2 inches, and the height we wanted it to be 3.5 inches. And let me just translate this so it doesn't overlay those other parts, and then you'll get a chance to see it a little bit better. Okay. Okay, so I unhid all those other parts, so you can see we created this with a cylinder and I created this as pipe. Either one will work just fine. So now we have to create this base and then the lever up there. This base is nothing more than a cylinder, just like we did this one with a little smaller radius, so it'll fit on top, a little bit indented from the top, and obviously not near as long. It's just a 1/4 inch for the base of the lever up there. So there's no need for me to show you how to create this. It's just, you could create it with a pipe like this one, or you could create it with a cylinder just with the correct dimensions. So the last thing we need to do is to create this lever. Let's look at the sketch for the handle that I've already done. You know how to sketch parts. So this is just, because the grid's a 1/2 inch, this is 1 inch, this is 2 inches, and you can see the rest of these. These are just sketched to make the handle look like the right size. So let's close this down. You already know how to make a sketch like that. And now what we want to do is to pad this sketch. I'm going to show you one little problem. The pad icon is right here, and if we click on it, you'll sometimes get this error that you need an active body. And they tell you can double click one or create one. This sketch is part of this handle. If I right click this, I can toggle this to make it the active body. And this sketch now if we pad it, we can actually give the padding we want, and we want it to be 1/4 of an inch. So we'll make it 0.25 inches. And now we should have all the pieces that we need to create the Jandy valve. I'm going to unhide everything. And I can do that easily with this view up here. There's an option for visibility to show all objects. And I have a macro that will get rid of all these blue planes and the lines, the axes. I have a macro that I've written. FreeCAD locked up on me earlier, so I've had to get everything back to the point we were at. And I was going to show you this macro, and I've created this one here to hide all these things. Let's execute it. And so now we're pretty much at the point where we just want to put all these pieces together. Sometimes it's nice to be able to see through these pieces as you're putting them together. And so, for example, this one here, this body part, if we find it over here, right here, you'll be able to see that I have set its transparency to 50. So it's 50% transparent. So if we slide something inside of there, we can see it. So let's start putting these things together. To start with, I'm just going to take the body and numerically the body, the Jandy body right here, and I'm just going to position it to the exact place that we want it to start. So we want it, let's put it right at the origin. Now you can see that it interferes with some of these other pieces, but we can hide them, or we'll be moving them around anyway. I've hidden all the parts except the main Jandy body and the handle base and the handle. So let's pick some orientation here that makes sense. This looks upside down. We can rotate it a bit if we want it to look more normal. And some of these things seem to be already halfway lined up anyway. But from other perspectives, we can see they're not. So let's go to the bottom perspective here. And we can see these things are not lined up correctly. So let's do that. Here's the little handle base. So let's find it in here somewhere. Right here. And let's transform it by moving it into its correct position. And the handle itself already looks pretty good. Let's see what we've got now. Not looking too bad. I don't want to spend too much time on this video, but you get the idea. You can use the transform to move these parts all around into the correct position. I may move a couple more here, but then we'll just end the video there. I've made the main Jandy pipe visible, so let's move it around just so you remember. We'll right click it and we'll transform it, and we can move it down. Remember, I've got this partially transparent, so from this angle it doesn't look too bad, but from other perspectives it may or may not be good. So from this perspective, the top perspective, these don't look too bad. So you get the idea. So let's go and look at what it's like after I've moved everything into the correct position. Okay, I've put everything into position. The last thing we might want to do is color this Jandy body portion black, kind of like I did in my original drawing. So let's try to color the pieces black over here. Before we color it, we need to combine all these into one part. So let's select all these things and use the part workbench and this icon here to make a union of several shapes. And it created this fusion for us, which is the entire thing. If we try to transform this, the whole thing should move. And now we need to rename this as the Jandy Valve. If we right click it, we can also set colors, and let's do that. So we click on a face, it added that face, and we can change the color. I don't know, I'll just make it black for right now. I don't think that's the color we really want. And let's see what that looks like. And we can add more black to it. Click another face. We want to click this one, and we'll make it black. And another face, we'll make it black. And let's see what it looks like. And you get the idea. We can actually set these other faces, and I probably didn't make this black. I made it kind of a dark gray, and so I will change it to make everything look like it is in this diagram.